Sherm Chester with you on a special notebook edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast. Had a guest lined up, and unfortunately things didn't happen, so we couldn't connect. Busy man, but hopefully we'll get Nick Anastas from Friday Night Lights on in the near future, and we could talk all sorts of sports, because this guy knows his stuff. And we got an exciting season of football coming up in just a couple of months. It's hard to believe we've transitioned into football now, and the camps will be starting probably within a month. And I know the guys and the different teams are in the weight rooms and whatever and doing their stuff on the side before they actually are officially in the locker room and in the weight room doing what they have to do to get ready for the season. So Nick will be a guest in the near future, and we'll talk, like I say, sports in general, but in particular the upcoming football season. And I have the schedule for the Seacoast teams. As a matter of fact, towards the end of the program, I'll bring that your way. I want to talk about one game that just wrapped up. I guess it wraps up unofficially the previous season. That's the Chad contest at St. Anselm College. The Chad game, again, Children's Hospital at Dartmouth. They have an East-West competition. All the all-stars from both sides playing to raise donations for the organization, which does great things for families and for children in particular. Anyway, they get together, the kids, and they've raised $300,000 just this season for this particular game that happened over the past weekend. It came out West, a winner. I think this is the third consecutive win for the West, and they came up with 13-7 winner over the East. And, of course, the Seacoast teams are on the east side of the border, so to speak. And so to all the all the players, great job. You're doing it for a great cause, having a lot of fun. I got to watch the game. Again, Nick Anastas and Steve Beals did the play-by-play for the game. And really, good job, gentlemen. Good job, and for both the announcing crew and for the guys on the field. For the notebook, I guess the only thing I was going to mention that the NBA and NHL drafts are over with, finally. NBA, Celtics came out with a few, I guess, up-and-coming talents. We'll see how it all works out. A kid named Gonzalez, their first pick in the first round. He's played most of his time overseas. They say he's got a lot of potential, a lot of tools in the toolbox. And if he gets some of the home cooking from Boston, learning how to play basketball the right way, he might turn out to be something special. So since the last podcast, the Celtics traded away Kristen Porzingis and True Holiday and picked up some minor players and I guess a draft pick or two in the upcoming seasons. It was a salary dump, no doubt about it. And there was speculation they might even dump Jaylen Brown's salary, which I think would have been a total absurdity. I mean, you gotta give the fan base some hope, and that seems to be, unfortunately, what's happening in sports now. You've got a situation where money talks, and if you're not producing, you're out the door. And if you're an owner, you got to go from owning $1 million franchise to $1 billion franchise, and the only way you can do that is by getting fannies in the seats and selling merch, selling those T-shirts or jerseys or whatever. And I know it's dollars and cents, so nothing wrong with Porzingis or Holiday. It was just a case it was time to move on and dump some salary, get under this new cap they have. And hopefully Jaylen Brown comes back healthy. He'll be the anchor for the team. I'm hoping Pritchard, who stepped up this past season, will be a big cog in the upcoming team. I'm hoping they'll keep what they have. Derek White obviously was he's untouchable as far as I'm concerned. He was the one they could build off of, especially once Tatum went down. So you don't. He's untouchable. I was going to say, as far as trading anybody else away, I don't see anything. I don't see. I think they'll go in with a pat hand. And as far as Al Horford is concerned, he is a free agent. I hope they re-sign him because he's the type of anchor man. You know, you got The Rock with Derek White, and then you got an anchor man that you can count on in the pinch with Al Horford. And I think he wants to finish his career with the Celtics. So unless he gets crazy with the money, I think he'll be there. It'll be a building season, a rebuilding season. Maybe one of these new kids they just picked up in the draft, this Gonzalez kid or one of the others, will be a breakout star. I think Pritchard was an example of that. That was a good pick by Brad Stevens. And that's the other thing. In Brad, we trust. I guess that's got to be the theme. He may not be Red Auerbach, but he sure as heck isn't Rick Pitino. And and Danny Ainge was a good guy, but I think at the end he was, having watched this thing on HBO called Celtic City, I think Danny Ainge was trying to be, he was conflicted. He wanted to be Red Auerbach, but he didn't. He wanted to be the guy that would have traded Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish, whereas Red Auerbach basically said, no, they're untouchable. And I think that towards the end, Danny Ainge was getting that, hey, I think I can turn this thing around by making a lot of major trades. So I think Jaylen Brown and Tatum and a few of those kids that were showing a lot of potential were saved by Danny Ainge going west and Brad Stevens taking over. So good things I think ahead for the Celtics, but not this coming season, unfortunately, until we get Tatum back. The NHL draft, I still don't know why Don Sweeney is in charge of the Bruins. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The Marchand deal obviously was a salary dump. Brad Marchand, happy for him. He's got the Stanley Cup. I mean, and then on top of everything else, he became a free agent and said, I'll stick it out here in Florida with the Panthers, signed a 6-year deal. So all that, will he come back to the Bruins? Do you think so? And Sweeney going, the door is always open. It ain't happening, folks. It ain't happening. I think this should be Don Sweeney's final season as a GM, president, or whatever title he has, because if this team drafted some young talent, but it's all developmental. It's going to take years before these kids are ready for prime time. Maybe one or two exceptions, but it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of shuffling going around, a lot of free agent pickups and whatever. I think the winter season here in New England is going to be slow, and we have to hope that the Patriots come through and drag it on a little bit. Maybe we get into the playoffs, maybe at least the quarterfinals. Hey, you never know. You never know. The NFL, with what's going on, I just don't know. This quarterback shuffle stuff with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, it's getting to the point now where, bring back Vinny Testaverde. I tease my son because he lives in the Cleveland area, and his son's a big Cleveland Browns fan. And they just went to a Myles Garrett camp the other day, and so my grandson get some pointers on football and some football savvy from one of the good guys. And the Browns are a team that right now they got Joe Flacco as their quarterback. I jokingly said, hey, they ought to bring back Vinny Testaverde. Every time Bill Belichick got into a jam, he'd just get on the phone and say, hey, Vinny, you available? Maybe he'll be back getting his postgraduate degree at North Carolina. You never stop learning, right, Vinny? Anyway, so we'll see how the NFL season shakes out. It's going to be interesting to see the new philosophy of life with the new head coach, and it's going to be a rebuilding year for the Patriots too. But Derek May has some targets now, and I think he's got a couple of people up front that'll keep him from being on his rear end all the time. In Major League Baseball, the trade deadline is coming up. The Red Sox, obviously the Devers thing was a big dust-up, but I think some of us, and I was talking to Sam Bruno, and yes, Sam is doing fine, by the way. Sam Bruno, one of the forefathers of this program, is doing fine, and hopefully we'll get him back for our anniversary show, which is coming up soon. We were sitting there having breakfast together, talking about sports and the Devers thing, and he has to admit he's not losing any sleep or crying any tears over Devers going west, and I said the same thing. I said, the kid didn't want to be the face of the franchise, so go west, young man, go where the money is, and good luck. In a couple of years, well, we'll see where he is. He might be playing DH for the Kansas City Royals or some other team, but we'll see. We'll see. It's out in west, there's a lot of competition just between three teams, the Padres, Dodgers, and the Giants, and we'll see how that all shakes out. In the meantime, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, they've got a lot of pressure on them to show up and prove themselves. Bregman, hopefully he'll be back sometime right after the All-Star game. He's ready to go now, but he's got to take steps. I mean, you've got a big contract that he's earning with the Red Sox, and he's also looking for a potential big contract down the road in free agency. So he's being careful, very careful, very, very careful, because he doesn't want to screw up a good thing. Speculation is he'll stay with the Red Sox, but there again, money talks. So we'll see about that. Salute to the 1975 World Series. I had to text Dave O'Brien and say, what a nice job they did on that. I wish the rain hadn't screwed up the game, but it was a retro salute to the 1975 World Series between the Red Sox and Cincinnati, since Cincinnati was coming to Fenway for a 3-game series. Good to see Terry Francona. I wish he was still with us. I really do. All the politics behind the scenes is what finally got Terry to leave us and go to Cleveland. Anyway, they wanted to celebrate the fact that they're back for the first time in a long time, and it is the 50th anniversary of the 1975 World Series. I was fortunate enough to be there, sitting in the bleachers with my buddy and his sisters. We got tickets. His mom, lucky lady, she could get tickets to anything. It was a lottery. They had lottery. You put a postcard or letter in the mail to the Red Sox, and they drew out names, and son of a gun, she won tickets, 4 tickets in the bleachers. So we got to see a World Series game. That was the game Bill Lee pitched, and it started to rain, and he had to go in, came out with a blister, and couldn't pitch anymore. And oh well. We know how the World Series came out, but that Game 6 was the one we'll never forget. Carlton Fisk, thank you very much. A New Hampshire boy, no less. They had the lot of the team from 75 there. Jim Rice, obviously, they were interviewing him, and Bob Montgomery. I texted Dave O'Brien. I said, "Hey, Monty still got the chops." I mean, I don't know how old Bob Montgomery is. He's got to be around 80-ish or in the 80s, and he was giving some good stories like he used to with Ned Martin when he was doing the broadcasting. And my favorite rain feature, when they had a rain delay, now they just talk and go back to the studio and have Tom Caron and Jim Rice or whoever's there talk for the rain delay. In the old days, they used to have pre-recorded features, and one of them was Bob Montgomery teaching youngsters how to break in a catcher's mitt. And I remember soak it in a bucket of water all night long. And then let it dry out with a baseball in it, tie it with some rawhide. It was good to see all those old timers. And Jim Rice, during the rain delay, Dave O'Brien and Sweet Lou Merlone got a chance to talk with Jim Rice. And you know something? There's a guy, a Hall of Famer, who he exemplifies the end of an era. He really does. Because his class, and he has class, and he talked about how the changes in baseball, how you had a decorum when you went into the locker room, and how you handled yourself, and how you handled yourself around, as a rookie, around the big stars like Carl Yastrzemski and Rico Petrocelli and people who were there that had time in the business. And you didn't take advantage of, hey, I'm here. He admits when he took over to left field, Carl Yastrzemski said, "It's your turn, kid," in left field. And it was Johnny Pesky, God love him, one of my all-time favorites. He took Jim Rice out to the left field and just kept hitting fungos at him until he finally figured out the Green Monster, which didn't have all those seats above it then. And it also had no protection. It was all just a tin wall, basically. So those balls came off of it in a funky manner. So you had to learn how to play the Green Monster, and Rice did. Rice did. I mean, he was a surly guy, I guess, from every report I've ever read from Shaughnessy and all the reporters. But now, he's in his golden age, and also, he's a wise sage. I wish these kids that are coming up would listen to a guy like that. I mean, unfortunately, he was in spring training this past season. He wasn't giving hitting instruction to anybody because he's not hired to do that, but he was just there observing somebody in the batting cage, and you just told this kid something, and somebody that was part of the Red Sox organization basically told him, knock it off and please leave these people alone. And I'm thinking like, wait a minute, this is Jim Rice. This guy is a Hall of Famer. He knows how to hit. If he wants to tell a kid step this way or hold your hands this way or that way on the bat, leave him alone. So this just shows you the new mentality in sports and baseball, I guess, in particular. But it was great to see the 75. I thought they did a nice job. They did like retro look as far as how they used to do the split screen back in the good old days with NBC Sports, and the graphics were just, basic graphics, nothing like we have nowadays with all the AI and all that jazz. And the pitch, they had no way of framing pitches so that you could judge the umpire. It was great. So, Obi, good job. Blue, good job. Jim Ned Rice, great job. And that 75 World Series, I'll never forget it. And thanks to Rita. Rita, you got us those tickets, and Tim and the kids, yours truly, got to see a World Series game. Nobody can ever take that away from any of us. During the summertime, we're going to be doing more notebooks and guests. Just have a few minutes. I'm trying to get Josh Morissette on. He is an all-star college talent, basketball talent, and was a star here at Exeter High School in our undefeated season a few years back, and I want his perspective on sports in general, but we can talk basketball and if you're coming up into the sport, you're like, say, a junior high or even a freshman or JV in high school. What do you got to do to take it to the next level? And he should know, and he does know. And then I have a gentleman who works for Channel 9 in Manchester, who is a videographer. He's at all the sporting events. He and I bump into each other all the time. And I said, hey, come on board. Let's talk. I'm not going to get him into trouble. We're not going to talk about anything specific, but how it is to be a videographer and some of the interesting things he's seen and done, because not everybody wants to be in front of the camera. And I know he's been with Channel 9 for years now. And, so we'll hopefully have him coming on board during the summer. And football schedule. Yeah, I mentioned they did release it on the NHIAA webpage. The Bluehawks, I'm just going to give theirs right off. We open up on the 5th of September against Timberlane, the Owls. Then we'll be on the road for 2 against Portsmouth Oyster River, Clipper Cats. That is on the 12th. The 19th of September, it'll be Londonderry. We'll be traveling to play the Lancers. The homecoming game against Winnacunnet, that will be at Bill Ball Stadium on the 27th of September. It's going to be an afternoon game, 1 o'clock. The rest of them are all evening games. Then we travel to Bedford the following week, 10-3, take on the Bulldogs. Then we come back home for a couple of games. We'll be taking on the Dover Green Wave on the 10th, and on the 17th, the Spalding Red Raiders. That'll be a couple of nice contests. And then we have an off week, a bye week. And right now, as I understand, we'll be playing the Portland Bulldogs, the same team we played last year. And they're a champion in their division in Maine. And it was a real good contest. I got to go to that and sit in with the Bluehawk media team. And I'm looking forward to having us bring the Bulldogs down our way. And it should be a fun contest. That'll be, I don't know the exact time right now. I assume it'll be a 7 o'clock start on the 24th of October. And then on the 31st, we wrap up the regular season on the road against Manchester Memorial, the Crusaders. That's a 6:30 start up in Manchester. So it's going to be an interesting season ahead. I'm just looking at some of the other teams. Dover kicks off their season against Portsmouth Oyster River. And then let's see who else here. Portsmouth, obviously, they have the game against Dover, and then they'll be playing us at home. Winnacunnet, where's Winnacunnet here? I don't know what happened. They didn't put their schedule down. That's weird. The schedule maker is fired. They're in Division I for sure, and I see the games that we'll be playing, or they'll be playing in Division I. They'll be playing Dover on the 19th. They'll be playing, as I said before, Exeter, the homecoming game on the 27th. They'll be on the 10th of October, Manchester Memorial, and they play Portsmouth on the 3rd of October. They'll be opening their season, the Warriors, against Spalding, and they'll be hosting the Spalding Red Raiders on the 5th. And then Timberlane, they play the Timberlane Owls on the 12th. For some reason, the schedule maker left Winnicott off the schedule. So sorry about that. We'll go over this again as we get closer to the season. But yeah, it should be a fun year. It always is. I'm anxious for football season. I know that's how Nick and Steve Beals ended their broadcast of the Chad game. That, you know, it's hard. You have to wait now about 2 months until the season kicks off. But it'll be here before we know it. On my 2-minute drill, just congratulate a graduate of Exeter High School. This fellow was the play-by-play voice of the Exeter Bluehawk baseball team for the past 4 years, I guess. I guess he started as a freshman. And the head of Bluehawk Media was putting out a notice that he was looking for a play-by-play guy. He offered it to me, and I said, gee, I'm not really a play-by-play guy. And, you know, it's something that actually is good for a young person to get into and cut their chops and make mistakes and learn the craft. Okay, learn the craft. That's a good phrase. And Kyle Vivenzio, who just graduated in the class of 2025 from Exeter High School, was the play-by-play voice of Exeter Bluehawk baseball. And you know something, Kyle? Good job. And I'm happy that the Bluehawk media was able to cover the game from the Fisher Cat Stadium, Delta Dental Stadium, against the Winnicott Warriors. I got to watch it at home on my big screen TV and in high def, and it looked great. And obviously the outcome was, what I was looking for, a win over Winnicott. And it was just a state title for the Bluehawks, obviously. But it was a good way for Kyle to cap his season off and his career off with the Bluehawks. But it's not the end of your career, Kyle. As we've said in the past, and I know we've had Dave O'Brien on, and a guy who's had a lot of trophies here in the state of New Hampshire, Mike Murphy, for his broadcast play-by-play. Just, keep working it. Keep working it. Stats. That's a big thing. And know how to integrate them into the broadcast and interview coaches. Read. It's a lost art form. Be curious. That's the thing. Have something to say. And if you don't say anything. Let the ambiance of the crowd, the noise, that's the thing that drives me nuts about some of these broadcasters. They talk just to talk. Let me hear the crowd. Let me hear the guy selling peanuts and popcorn down in the stands yelling. I know NBC. I was telling my buddy in Florida, NBC years ago did a Jets game on a Sunday afternoon, and they did what they call ambient sound. They didn't have a play-by-play announcer. They had the graphics, but, first down and 10 and all that jazz. But they let the PA announcer in the background be the announcer, and then the crowd noise. And it was great. I'm prejudiced. I'm a public address announcer, so I like to have, the crowd getting into it, and you get the crowd pumped and whatever. So, Kyle, good luck in your future endeavors, and that's another youngster I'd love to have on board here to talk about his career at Exeter and where he's heading for. So, Kyle, it's an open invitation. You want to join us on the Seacoast Sports Forum, you are welcome anytime. And that'll be the Notebook edition, and hopefully in our next edition we'll have a special guest. I'm looking forward to it. But there again, summertime, it's hard to nail people down. Everybody's traveling. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks, especially this weekend as we broadcast. It's 4th of July. The official kickoff for summer as far as people are concerned. I know Memorial Day technically is, but this is the big one. Everybody's got to go hither, thither, and yon. So please, if you are traveling, be safe, and have fun, but be safe with the fun too, okay? If you're enjoying the program, please pass the word. We're on all the major podcast platforms. And if you have any comments or questions or recommendations for a guest, email address you can go to seacoastsportsforum@yahoo.com. Here's to a safe and happy summer. This is Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast.